You want to stop thinking about your ex? Well, you have come to the right video because in this video, I will explain to you exactly why you're still thinking about your ex partner, even though the relationship has already ended. And don't worry, you are not crazy. Okay. So, in this video, I'll explain to you exactly what happens in our brains after a separation, as well as actionable steps that you can do right now to help you move past those intrusive thoughts about your ex-partner. When we go through a separation, a divorce, or a breakup, especially if it's a long-term relationship where you have been with that person for a good amount of time, then there is a natural and normal grieving process that happens within our brains and within our bodies. And usually what happens to our brains is that when we've been together with someone for a long time, maybe it's just a year, 3 years, 5 years, a decade, maybe a few decades, what has happened is that our brains have been so used to seeing that person and associating that person to be a big part of our lives, right? Our partners tend to be our primary attachment and emotional bonds when we decide to commit to that person when we're in a relationship. So, what this means is that our brains tend to calculate and make predictions for the future. It calculates this algorithm all the time. If I tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know how to complete that sentence, right? Because you have learned over time that after 5, it's going to need to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? That is the pattern that your brain has learned to associate with. So when you are with a partner, say you've just been together for 1 year, let's take 1 year, 365 days. And for each and every day of those 365 days, you were with that person at one point or another, maybe an hour or two a day before you go to work, after you go to work, they're there before you go to bed and right when you wake up. So in our brain, like our brain also calculates it with lived experiences, right? So if you have experienced every day in those 365 days that you were with that person, then your brain thinks, okay, the 366th day, it's very highly likely that this person is still going to be there with me today, either when I wake up or before I go to bed, right? That is the prediction that your brain has already calculated ahead of time because it just makes sense, right? You were with that person for the past year. And so what happens when you separate and you break up with that person and you're no longer with them, like you're no longer going to bed with them, something has changed. Your brain goes, oh, something is wrong. What is happening? And it sends all of these chemicals, the flood of stress hormones, especially because they're your partner, their primary bond. It goes, where is this person? That's why there's that feeling of grief afterwards, right? Because your brain is predicting, where the hell is this person in my life? They have been here for such a long time. And so, the really, really interesting part of this is that our brain is super smart, right? It's not just gonna learn the algorithm just based on the first or second day that that person is gone. It knows better. It's super smart. So just because there's been, 1 or 2 days without that person, or even a full week or two without that person, it's learned 365 days that this person is there. The 14 days is just a small fraction, and it still, takes a bit of reprogramming for it to fully become used to that person no longer being in your life. And another fascinating thing about our brains is that it is very solution oriented. It likes to solve problems. It is built to solve our problems. And so what it does when it's looking for this person is it finds a solution to find that person, right? That is why you want to text them. That is why you want to look for them. That is why you kind of want to stalk them, right? That is the reason why we want to search and yearn for them. That sadness, that loneliness is pretty much the way that our brains and our bodies are really searching for that person, is searching for that old connection, for that old love, for that old emotional bond, right? And this is why, even if some people leave a toxic relationship or an unhealthy relationship, they still crave that person because of this. Part of it is the natural grief process, and also the emotional bond that still needs to be processed between themselves and their ex-partner, right? And so you're not crazy for thinking about your ex. You're not crazy for thinking of maybe wanting him back. It is just a natural mechanism that our brains and our bodies are, in which our brains and bodies are attempting to solve the problem. So by making us feel this emotion, it's trying to make sense of how to best solve the problem of this person missing. So hopefully this helps your understanding of this part and what really happens to your brains. So what do you do to help with this, right? Because this can feel very, very distressing, I know. So there's a big difference between allowing all of these thoughts to come and being in the present moment, right? If you're present in the moment, you're saying to yourself, yes, this is it right now. The relationship is over. I have all these memories and I'm processing them. That is a healthy way to process your emotions and thoughts regarding that partner. Because truth is, you're not going to completely get rid of those thoughts and those emotions. That is a natural body reaction, right? It's not about forgetting that person. It is working through the emotions. And there's a difference between that, which is more healthy and is going to be adaptable and going to help you live a meaningful life after the loss of this relationship, versus living in the past, versus taking the thoughts that do come regarding your partner and then pretending that at this present moment it is happening, pretending that the happy memories are here, pretending that when you text them, they're going to come running back to you, right? That is not the reality. So you want to be able to be present and just be more aware as to where you are at between this, right? And sometimes you'll go back and forth, which is normal, but just remember, the healthiest way for you is to be present in the moment and accept your current reality. So when you are able to get into that state of being present and acceptance, you are going to help yourself peacefully move on. And this is exactly what I help my clients with, right? I help them accept and I help them come to terms with exactly what is happening right now, and help them become at peace internally with what has already happened, so that they can take the action and start moving forward. Because really and truly, how you counteract all of the things that your brain is trying to do and figuring out the algorithm, is that you can actually help your brain reset its algorithm. So how do you reset your own brain algorithm? How do you help you to reset this, right? Remember, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that our brains make predictions based on lived experiences, like what actually happened right here, right now, in reality, right? So what you want to do is create as much lived experiences without that other person. Sounds very simple, right? But this is really and truly the fastest way as to how you can move on. Create experiences for yourself without the other person, right? And this is more difficult than what it sounds, right? Being able to move on really is to live without that person, is to show your mind that you are going through your daily life without that person anymore, so that it recalculates the prediction algorithm, right? Because the more you wake up and look and to see and your partner no longer being in bed with you, and then you wake up to go through your normal day without that person, the more you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner without that person. Maybe it is with your friends or family, or people who support you, your community. you being without that person, and the more you can prove to your mind that you're living your life without that person is, one of the best ways that you can reset that algorithm. Because, excuse me, the more experiences you have without that other person, the more internal experiences and lived experiences you have for your brain to take as its new prediction library, right? So instead of the 365 days without that person, the next 30 to 60 days is now going to be lived without that person. And it's going to look back at the last 60 days without that person. And each and every day is going to be easier, because then your brain knows that you are no longer with this person. You are now by yourself, or whoever you choose to spend your time with. So this is the best way. And, they say that time doesn't heal all wounds. Yes and no, right? Yes, time does play a big factor, because with time you're creating more experiences, but time alone isn't enough, because truth of the matter is we can continue just living in the past, even though time has already gone, even though the 60 days have gone and we haven't lived any experiences without that person. We are going to be in a more similar spot than someone who is actually every day finding new experiences without that person. And also, just to add to this, if there were things or activities that you used to do with your partner, try doing them by yourself. Now, this is going to be very hard at first, because your brain goes, well, where is this other person? We used to skate together. We used to do this every Tuesday nights together. It's going to be very difficult at first, but the more you take the same experiences that you used to share together and start living it by yourself or with other people, then your brain will start to calculate the fact that, oh, so we used to go to the museum on Tuesday nights, maybe go to the same museum with a group of friends, or maybe alone sometimes, or maybe with your parents, or maybe with someone else, right? Because then that is going to help your brain to associate that old experience that you used to have with your ex-partner to now learning that you can have that same experiences with other people, and you don't need that your ex-partner to still enjoy doing that same task that same day, or that same day Tuesday night, right? So what are you going to do today to help you create more lived experiences for yourself? Make this fun, make this enjoyable. Do something that makes you happy, because once you start associating your lived experiences with happiness, you are also helping yourself out by being able to tell yourself that you can enjoy your company, that you can be happy with yourself. And isn't that the best breakup glow?